9/8, subtracting fractions with unlike denominators. This is almost exactly like adding fractions with unlike denominators. We kind of have the same steps, so write this down as your title page. Then when you're ready to move on, I would like you to write these 3 steps. They look exactly alike what we wrote down for when we are adding, but this one is when we are subtracting. First, we have to find the common denominator. Second, change the numerators. 3, the third step is keep the denominators the same, add numerators straight across. So please write that, and then you can move on. Okay, this is our first problem. I would like you to write 5/6 minus 1/2. So I want to know, I'm going to quiz you a lot this time because you did almost the exact same thing when you did adding fractions. So my first question is, what is my first step? What would my first step be? Okay, if you said my first step is to find a common denominator, you are correct. In this case, to find my common denominator, would I do 6 times 2? Or how else would I find my common denominator? Well, if you told me that 2 goes into 6, 2 goes into this 6, you would be correct. So 6 could be our common denominator, because if I listed out my factors down here, 2, 4, 6, 6 is our least common denominator. So guess what? That means I get to keep this whole problem. Because I kept the 6, I get to keep everything else. So I have to change the 2 to our common denominator of 6. Okay, how do I know what to change the numerator to? What do I times the top, the 1 by, to get my numerator? Well, you have to ask yourself, 2 times what is 6? 2 times 3. So I have to do the exact same thing to the top that I did to the bottom, which is 3/6. Now, I would simply add straight across, but keep my denominator. Oh, goodness, I caught myself. We are subtracting. So, but still, keep my denominator, and I would subtract straight across. 5 minus 3 is what? 2/6. Is that simplest form? No, because 2 can go into 6. So, if I have 2/6, I know they can both be divided by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 6 divided by 2 is 3. So we have 1/3 as our answer. If you do not write your answer in simplest form, it will be incorrect. So we are going to do this problem together, and we're just going to run through it real quick since it's almost identical to what you learned with addition. So to find my common denominator, I can list out my facts and find my least common denominator, or I can times the 2 bottom ones, because if I times these 2 bottom ones, it's not a crazy big number. So my new fractions down here, 8 times 3 is 24. So that's going to be my common denominator. But now I have to ask myself, to get that 24, I did 8 times what to get 24? 8 times 3. So I got to do that to the top. 7 times 3 is 21. Okay, now I got to do it over here. 3 times what gave me 24? 3 times 8 gave me 24. So I have to do that to the bottom, or the top. 1 times 8 is 8. Okay, we have common denominators, so we have to keep those. And now we go straight across. And we have to say 21 minus 8 is 13. And can 13 be broken down anymore? No, it cannot. So we know 13/24 is our answer. All right, I want you to try 2 on your own. You're going to try 2 for me. Okay, I would like you to try 3/5 minus 1/3. Remember, you have to use those 3 steps you have to find the common denominator, change the numerator, then subtract straight across. Make sure you don't keep messing up like I am, and make sure you are subtracting. And then I would like you to do 2/9 minus 1/8. So this will be the first quiz question. This will be the second quiz question. Please plug in your answers once you are done solving these. Okay, now I want you to follow along with me, especially if you got one of these wrong. So, the first one, what did you change the denominators to? What did you make them? Well, in this case, we can do 5 times 3 because it's a little number. It's 15. So, let's just say we did 5 times 3. Okay, to find the numerator, we have to say 5 times what equaled 15. We had to multiply it by 3, so we have to do that to the top. 3 times 3 is 9. Now down here, 3 times what is 15? 3 times 5, have to do it to the top. 1 times 5 is 5. So now I have 9/15 minus 5/15. And that should give me 9 minus 5, 4/15. But can 4 go evenly into 15? No, it cannot. So that is our answer, 4/15. Okay, now this one, I really want you to pay attention to this one, because 9 times 8 is quite a big number. It's 72. If you use that, you're going to have to simplify a lot. So in this case, I would list out my multiples. I would list out my multiples of 8 and my multiples of 9. So if I did that for a really long time, I would figure out that 72 actually is the common denominator, and that is the least common denominator as well. So I could have just multiplied those two. I was wanting to show you something else, but it doesn't work out in this problem, so just ignore me down here. All right, so 8 times what is 72? 8 times 9. So I have to do that to the top. 1 times 9. 1 times 9 is 9. 9 times 8 was 72. So we have to do 2 times 8, which is 16. All right, I have common denominators now. So I can do 16 over 72 minus 9 over 72. And I should get 7 over 72. And I cannot reduce that anymore because 7 cannot go into 72 evenly. All right, one more on your own, and then you are done for today. So this one we will do together. The next one will be on your own, sorry. All right, so easy peasy here. We're not going to find a common denominator by doing 16 times 8, because does 8 go into 16? Yes. So 16 can be our common denominator. If we keep that 16, we get to keep the top. Okay, so now we have to change this 8 to 16 and this 3. What do I ask myself to figure out what the numerator is over here? That's going to be a quiz question. What do I ask myself? What do I know to do with that 3 to get a new numerator? If you said you have to say 8 times what is 16, 8 times 2, so we'd have to do 3 times 2, because we have to do whatever we do to the bottom to the top. 3 times 2 is 6. So now we have 9/16 minus 6/16 equals 3/16. Now, you ask yourself, is this in simplest form? Well, does 3 go into 16 evenly? No, so it is. So 3/16 would be your answer. All right, this next one is all on your own, and that's your last one of the day. So I want you to go ahead and solve this, follow the steps, put your answer in the quiz question box, and I will solve it out for you after you put in your answer. So the first thing we should have done is get a common denominator. 7 times 2 is 14, so that could be our common denominator. Now we have to change the numerator. So we said 7 times what gives us 14? 7 times 2. So we have to do that to the top. 6 times 2 is 12. 2 times what is 14? 2 times 7. So 1 times 7 is 7. So now we have 12/14, we have common denominators, minus 7/14. And we have to go straight across. 12 minus 7 is 5. And keep the denominator. Your answer should have been 5/14. If you did not get that, I really want you to come talk to me tomorrow, and we will figure out how to get you to where you need to be. Also, one last note is, when you change these fractions, they are equivalent fractions of what you started with. So 6/7 is the same as 12/14, because when you reduce 12/14, you would say we divided by 2 on each, you end up with 6/7 again. So you never simplify this part. you only simplify the answer that you get after you have common denominators. Because if we were to simplify, we would end up with the same problem. And we can't subtract these because they have different denominators, correct? All right, so if you watched this video all the way till the very end to listen to my beautiful voice still talking, come see me for your prize.